All right, American History 132, folks. Let's talk about the doc for Unit 3. The most common question I get in this, besides what's yellow journalism, is where's the doc? And the doc is listed right below the assignment. It is the picture that's right there, that picture of the newsprint. If you go ahead and click the tag at the top of the newsprint, you can go ahead and enlarge it. I suggest enlarging the picture. I suggest taking and well, you can't blow it up because that is in small pieces, but enlarge it so you can take a look, so you can zoom around it a little bit, so you can zoom in and out, and really take a look at it, because you have to remember a couple of things. Number one, this is literally a headline from the day, and the headline from the day from the paper. And imagine somebody in the old TV shows literally standing on the corner saying, extra, extra, read all about it, and waving this paper around, or having a small booth on the corner or a newsstand on the corner with this out there. And here's the idea of it. Take a look and you see that picture, and you see a ship that's absolutely shredded. I mean, it is just all torn to hell and mid-explosion. And if you kind of zoom in a little bit, you'll see that, oh my God, there are bodies flying everywhere, that there is shrapnel just ripping this ship asunder, and that there are flames and just total carnage with what's happening. And then if you take and you go, oh wait, let me look at the top, because it's got a title, it's got a headline in big bold letters: Maine explosion caused by bomb or torpedo. And as you read down, you find out a little bit more about the article. And as you read down, the typeset starts to drop down a little bit. It changes and it gets smaller, and it changes and it gets smaller, and it changes and gets smaller, until if you look at the bottom of the picture and the body's floating in the water, and the chain still keeping it anchored, which I think is interesting, you have the actual article, and you can't read the actual article. But here's the issue. We have an introduction of something called yellow journalism. And yellow journalism, it's really about a fight between two papers. Okay, it's about a fight between two papers and two what are now world famous publishers. And they're fighting over distribution. They're fighting over, hey, we're both in this big city. We both own papers. We both want to get the most advertising. We want to get the most bang out of our buck. We want to sell the most papers along the way. One of them has a comic strip called The Yellow Kid. Well, the other one will hire away the artist. He will hire away the cartoonist and have him start writing for his paper. And so yellow journalism is about that yellow kid. But here's the thing that we start talking about, is we're starting to talk about sensationalism. Sensationalism in newspapers, sensationalism in the media, which is newspapers. We're not looking at radio for the most part at this point. We're not looking at, there is no TV. And so newspapers, besides word of mouth, that's really the only source. That's where people get their news from. And so the idea is to get people to buy your paper. Well, to get people to buy your paper, they have to look. I want you to think about the internet. I want you to think about something called clickbait. Clickbait. If you jump on Yahoo, if you jump on MSN, if you jump on any Google, a lot of times they've got news feeds going on, or what purport to be news. My favorite is to look at Yahoo and look at the number of things that are on there. Find out how many alien babies Kim Kardashian's going to have. Figure out what flagrant thing that Kanye has said. Figure out what the president has and hasn't done. Find out what congressional whatever we're looking at. Find out how many UFOs we're going to have. And the idea is they're going to very often put a story up there in big headlines to attract your attention, to attract your eye. You're going to go, oh, this looks interesting. Click, let me look at this. And you find out instead it's an ad. Or you're looking at the stories, and that just doesn't sound interesting, but that's an interesting picture. And so you click on it anyway and find out again the picture has nothing to do with what the story is. And that's clickbait. That's kind of yellow journalism, because what we're looking at is big, horrific pictures. We're looking at big, bold headlines that purport to tell you this horrific thing, this awful thing, this terrible thing is happening. And then as you start to read, well, listen, if you're reading, you bought the paper. Okay, you bought the paper, and if you bought the paper, they've accomplished what they set out to do. They don't care if you're just going to use it for fire starter or toilet paper or sleeping on. They don't care if you use it for your bird cage as long as you buy the paper. And the idea of yellow journalism, the idea of these big bold prints, this idea of this picture, because keep in mind, this picture that you're looking at, this print of this explosion of the USS Maine, is not a video. There's not any closed caption TVs. There's not any CCVs. There's not an instantaneous picture. There's no live feed. This is somebody's idea of what happened. Somebody went through and drew or painted this. This is a creation. And so they painted this in all this horrific fashion. What kind of person is going to go through and paint bodies and partial bodies flying through the air, bodies on fire, bodies floating in the water? They can't possibly realize, they can't possibly know, but what they want you to do is they want you to see this and see this horrific explosion, and they want you to buy the paper. And by the time you buy the paper and figure out, oh look, we're not sure. If you read that first headline, hey, it was a bomb, it was a torpedo. If you read the second headline, the third headline, the fourth headline, the fifth headline, you'll figure out that they don't know what happened. They're going to send people over, and they haven't even investigated this particular point. And what this is propaganda. This is the beginning of a war. Is it yellow journalism? Yeah, and you can cite all sorts of stuff that show you it's yellow journalism. It's what our president refers to as fake news. They're going to create the news. And if you look at this, you look at the competition between William Randolph Hearst and Pulitzer, and you will realize if you read some more information that Hearst is going to put this out there to start a war. He wants to go ahead and he wants to grab the headlines. He wants to grab the attention. He wants to start what becomes the Spanish-American War. And his hope is that he's going to be able to make a name for himself, a name for his paper, get that out there, and become a senator and maybe eventually a president along the way. And he's going to use this as a stepping stone. Look at this fabulous war I started. Look at this fabulous thing, and it's about defending democracy, but it's about getting his name out there. So what I want you to do is take a look at this document, and if you think it is indeed yellow journalism, well then tell me why. If you think it's not, well then let me know why. I just think it's really interesting to look at it and to kind of break down things and break down the thought process and realize that even though this is well over 100 and more years ago, that everything has changed, and yet nothing has changed. So all right, take care.